days, I was doing my Monday Mindsets live on Instagram and YouTube. And well, then I started working with Ascended Masters. So I've been I feel like in a place of fairy tale meditation for the past couple of months. And so I'm kind of like coming back up after a lot of deep work with myself and my classrooms. And here we are. So I am here with my good friend and client and my assistant on this journey right now, Jahida. And she is going to
Hello.
be here to ask some questions as we are going to kind of like bring in Saint Germaine today, as that's been one of the questions that I've been getting a lot of questions for him. So this is going to kind of like, this is going to help with any of the questions that you guys are having as far as the Ascended Masters, channeling, 5D, the New Earth, your particular situation, your circumstances. How do you get from where you are to where you're going, the state of the world? So those questions that have been coming in, this is just a good platform for us to like knock it all out. And also get an opportunity for Saint Germaine to speak to all of you. So a little backstory. I have been publicly channeling for 12, 13 years, but never anything other than really my higher self. And I think this came from a fear and maybe role issues within my own ego. You grow up with that control of like needing to have everything right. And you can be very gifted, which everyone has the ability to channel. Every single person, we all have the same gifts. It's just what layers of fear and loss and different lower vibrations are holding you back from experiencing those. So as I have been doing a lot of ego dissolving these last couple of years, this was something that when I went down into, I would say, if you're looking at a fairy tale, you go into the dark forest or the dark night and really started to kind of ask from a more meek place for, help, like mentoring, because I've been in this mentor space for 12 years. And I was finally like, okay, I think I need some help here. These are uncharted waters. And it was then where I really finally let go, and they were all there and they were like, hello, we've been waiting. So I've been working with channeling the Ascended Masters publicly and in the classroom via kind of like, live channeling through instead of translating, which I was doing before. It's like I'd get the block of light code, and then my higher self would translate it so it still looked like it was coming from me. And now it's just coming straight from, there's no middleman except this physical vessel. And that is really freeing for me, as I am able to get a lot of information about myself that when you're filtering it through yourself, you're still filtering it through yourself. So I'm able to be much more of a student this year. And that has really been a big shift for me as a teacher, as a coach, to be able to see myself, because that's the easiest thing for us to do in the world, is see what someone else needs and how to help someone else with their vibration, their frequency, their story. And yet when you are in your own, there's an emotional attachment there. And so there is a blind spot usually that we all kind of deal with. And this is the power of the conscious mirror. It's just like, you can see me, I can see you, and we are all just reflecting back to each other the state, frequency, and vibration of our dominant signature at any given time. So as I was kind of going through this, I began to teach my masterclass this year called Becoming Superhuman. As we know, right, we are God embodied, and it is our belief systems, our self-believing limitations that keep us separate from accessing higher potentials in the physical body, and as well as ascending into higher dimensional spaces that we are very much attuned and aligned with right now. So it is literally a choice to keep choosing limiting belief systems to keep this kind of divine upgrade away. And it requires a lot more energy to keep abundance, prosperity, love, support away than it does to let it in. But if we don't know we're doing it, we may not know how to open up that awareness to be able to find that belief system and shift it. So in this masterclass that I've been working with, obviously we work with a lot of epigenetic tools, a lot of awareness ideas, obviously consciousness training. But then as the ascended masters have come in, they're bringing magic. They're bringing the fairy tale idea. They're bringing the concept of the kingdom of heaven through, and it's really amazing to be able to reignite that inner child. I know that all of you guys out there, when you first woke up, your inner child was like buzzing because you started believing in magic again. You started believing in all of your dreams and your goals. And I know sometimes the spiritual journey can take you kind of back into that adulthood as you're trying. You're working hard to be enlightened, and literally what they have told me is kind of like, okay, just get out of the way. We want to remind people that this is just a game, that this is a play. You are an actor, and that you have every ability to change the story, edit the story. Also, that you're playing all the different roles and learning about your own characters, your cast of characters, your props, your circumstances, your so-called limitations and highest potentials are there for you to be able to choose, decide, discern what it is that you want to create. But if we're in like resistance and judgment and hiding, then we're not really using the tools that we have at hand, which is our stage. And so as they have kind of like allowed me to get off the teaching platform and become a student in exchange, right? I get to be that channel, and I also get to receive in that way of being the student, but also, being able to share with all of you guys. And so we decided to do something because we were going through that eclipse energy, right? We've got this 2024 energy that's all about alignment, purification of vibration. It's all about letting go. And so that can really cause a lot of old failure programs to come to the surface, loss to come to the surface. And again, usually where we lost our greatest shine was childhood, where we lost our ability to, have our volume out there and not be so insecure about who we were. Most of us lost that in childhood sometime. And so kind of going back to that place and rekindling and reconciling that energy of the inner child is where I have been able to make the biggest shift this last year. And again, like we decided that when I say I said myself and the masters, and it's a range of masters. It's Saint Germaine, Buddha, Christ is there, Jesus, Lady Nada, Lady Portia. Like there's several different ascended masters that come through. As if you look at the concept of ascended master, it's like they have mastered the ascension. And this is where we are. So we don't have better teachers than this right now. Like, I'm not saying that, other beings aren't wonderful teachers, but these beings have actually gone through this human experience. They have crossed through the threshold. They know the different levels of these video games. They can speak our language. They understand emotional intimacy and intelligence. They understand co-creation. They understand what it feels like to be afraid here. And sometimes when you're channeling, beings that have never been physically present in the embodied, they don't have as much reality with what we go through as maybe being a parent or a single parent or, going through a breakup. They just say, who cares? Raise your vibration. We're like, whatever, we have emotions that go with it. So we decided that we would do a spring session of private 3-point sessions. And I offered them pretty much just to my community, as I didn't want to be that busy. But we got to do probably over 100 sessions during the spring at these 3-part sessions. One was a clearing, like a karmic clearing, looking at where you're kind of replaying old programs and you're like, why am I still dating this person or living this way? So that first session is kind of like removing that obstacle. It's almost like it's in your refrigerator, you're going to eat it, but you don't need to be playing it out. So they help you kind of remove any of that storage that's like you've played out, you've finished, you completed. That kind of makes room in your physical field to bring forth the inner child. Obviously, the inner child's going to need a playroom. She's going to need a playhouse. She's going to need playmates. And so if you've got all this cluttered emotional storm in your body, she's going to he's not going to want to be playing through you. You're not going to have that motivation because you're going to have all that old energy and motion trapped in there. And that's going to kind of bump against the idea of being in the space of nonsense. So the ego is going to use your five senses to keep you stuck. Okay, so if any of you are feeling stuck out there, it's only your five senses. Okay, what you see, what you taste, what you touch, you believe this is real. But when you bring forth the inner child, he plays in the no sense, in the nonsense. And see, now you're not operating with the same blocks and limitations as before. You're in the infinite potential. And you're into pretending. And I love their definition of pretending. It's pre-attending. So when you pre-attend your future attractions, you're getting your body kind of like through that dress rehearsal. Your body's familiar with it. Well, then when you kind of start to manifest that wish fulfilled, it's organic, it's effortless. And so this is really where the inner child has made this last, what could be a very scary process of change. You know, I mean, really, when you look at going from 3D to 5D, you have to have a death of your old self, or what they call ego death, in order to lighten up to the point where you are no longer vibing in separation. That's a very kind of scary concept, unless you bring in the inner child and it becomes a form of play and it becomes malleability. And you know, when we're looking at spirit in those like threefold like manifestation cycles. So it's like spirit is like the steam, it's infinite potential, it can be everywhere at once. And then from spirit you're going to go into the inner child, which is malleable, taking on any shape, pretending, taking on forms, affirming, becoming firm. And so then when you decide and that hardens, well, then that becomes the ice. And that is usually, we could call your circumstances. And so you can see how easy it is to change from that perspective. Oh, this is just ice. This circumstance isn't anything that I need to be necessarily, it's not a stop sign. It just needs to be chemically altered through vibration, through the sensory, through the the thought process, through the imagination. And that is where your inner child is going to shine, is in the imagination space, especially if she's working with infinite potentials and not circumstances. So this is kind of where after we got through the spring sessions that we did privately, they came to me and said, we got to do a workshop. These guys are at the top of their, I mean, we're teaching high level metaphysics, and like, where's the inner child? You know, especially in session 2, they teach each one of your inner children their own special game, which is aligned with their particular frequency. So each of us we really are a fairy tale. We each have a theme, and this theme, we are here to act out in the fullness of who we are. It's going to be something that is just who you are. It isn't what you have to do or become. It's not a graduate degree. It's not money in the bank. It's literally who you are. It's a state of being that is the truest connection to your spirit. And some people act it out as like, I am love, I am joy, I am prosperity, I am freedom. And we all have a different theme that we're playing out. And it's unique because of our story. So someone could have the same theme, but their story is going to be playing that fairy tale out differently. And if you don't realize you're in a fairy tale, then you might not be playing. You might be just existing or surviving what was only supposed to be a little dark forest experience. You could turn it into 20 years if you're not aware of the process. So they said they wanted to do 8 sessions, 8 different 90-minute sessions in a workshop form, all based in the idea of you being your own fairy tale and teaching you how to play with magic, with the idea of speaking to animals, all these things that they're going to bring in. But each different session is going to basically be a game that you can play with your inner child, and your inner child will be able to teach you. Because I'll tell you, I got 4 kids. I've learned more from my 4 kids than I have from any college class, any YouTube video, any mentor. really my biggest breakthroughs in life have been watching them and learning from them, especially if you're like me, you didn't feel like you really had a childhood per se, then being able to watch what a child does naturally, even in a tough situation, is pretty phenomenal. So we thought this would just be a great opportunity for us to kind of go live, talk about the workshop. It's going to start on my birthday, May 23rd, and that's just right around the corner. If you're like, oh, I'm going to be out of town or something, don't worry. It's going to be archived. It's going to be uploaded, the session, so you don't have to attend live, but it is live. It will be live. They will be taking live questions. And right now it's going to be channeled by me, hosted by Saint Germaine, and Buddha is going to be working kind of side by side with, and Lady Nada is going to be coming in to really help. She's kind of that inner child specialist when it comes to Ascended Masters, and really being able to speak the language of everybody's different, unique inner child, whether male, female, whatever it is that you're leaning towards these days. So that's going to be kind of that 3-point trinity that's going to come in and facilitate this inner child play workshop that will basically get you from wherever you are, right, to your version of what we would call the kingdom of heaven, or your heaven on earth. It will be, all your coordinates will be laid out for you, and it will all be in the idea of where adults get stuck is in the right and wrong. And so it will be based on heart's desire. It will be based on the kind of the kingdom of heaven rules, like what's right and wrong in the eyes of God versus what's right and the wrong in the eyes of the matrix, because that's where you can really get like, well, I can't do that. And again, you can do that, but we got to learn the rules so we can learn to break them like an artist or break them like a child, and allow vibration and frequency to line up different circumstances so that we're not having to keep losing things to get things. We're working in the this and that. Children don't want to naturally give up something just to get something. They're like, I want this and that. Well, that's what 5D is. It's unification. It's heart desires manifested. So in 3D, it's like you're working for your heart desires. In 5D, you're living your heart desires. And so that's really different. Now, what is the fourth dimension? The fourth dimension is the inner child. The fourth dimension is the bridge of circumstances. It is the workshop. It is the imagination. It is all of those points that where we are and where we want to be, the inner child is really the only way to let go, surrender, without giving up who you are in your authentic nature, and become more free wherever you are. See, that's the situation, is we keep thinking, okay, when I'm over here, I'm going to be free. But the inner child knows how to be free where you are. The inner child knows how to feel abundant where you are. The inner child knows how to co-create where you are. Your inner child knows how to get along where they are. The adult within you says, no, I can't talk to this person safely. Well, there's judgment there. There's resentments there. There's bitterness there. There's conflict there. There's insecurity there. But your inner child isn't going to be experiencing those same things. So your inner child will give you the biohack on that relationship, will help you with no judgment. The inner child resides in your heart chakra, which remains in the neutral 0 point. If we're looking at quantum physics, right? Your 0 point energy is your heart. It's neutral. And so it's going to be, I want us all to get along. I love everybody. But if you're vibrating from your lower 3 chakras, it's going to be, failure, loss, sex, money, power, fear, trying to be shiny while trying to be invisible. And if you're living from the top 3 chakras, you're just in that space of pure positive spirit, but not maybe grounded and anchored, that you came here to have the physical experience as a spirit. So the inner child is where it kind of comes in and blends together. So what I wanted to do now is just, depending on who's here, we can get some questions asked. I'll bring in Saint Germaine so you guys can get a little feel for how I am bringing him through. Look, I want to say one thing about channels, just because this came through. There's a lot of people channeling Saint Germaine right now. And so you might be listening to another channel channeling Saint Germaine, which is awesome. And remember, spirit is neutral love energy. And so even though that he definitely has a personality that comes through me and definitely has a personality that comes through someone else, it's the blend and the merge and the co-creation of spirit that is going to bring the version that I'm channeling Saint Germaine with is a unique sauce than say someone else. Like I have another student who channels Saint Germaine and it sounds completely different than the way that it vibes through me. Now, my highest joy is the inner child. So it would make sense for me to be able to bring forth that data through me. And in someone else, it might be that he gets to bring through different type of alchemy magic. This is the alchemy of play, is what I get to be the vehicle or the channel of, which is my highest joy. And that's where we are a vibrational match. So I don't want you guys to get confused if you start seeing like, it's almost like when you watch Bashar, there's one person who channels Bashar. Okay. Although I have channeled Bashar in the privacy of my own home, but publicly, like you see Daryl Anka, it's like, that's Bashar. And that's a very specific persona that comes through that. But Saint Germaine is part of the Ascended Master. And so he is us. We are him. It's a fractal of higher self-consciousness. So there is no separation there. And so he could be here and here at the same time, even embodied somewhere on the planet at the same time. So keep in mind that the rules are very different once you leave 3D. And then in higher dimensional consciousness, you are not anchored or imprisoned by time or space. So you are much more free in your ability to co-create through different vehicles, vessels, space, and it all happens now. So I just didn't want anybody to be like, well, you sound different when you do it, or you sound different, because it's just uniquely, like, you are going to have a unique way you sing a Mariah Carey song, but it's going to sound different, but it might be the same type of language, because Saint Germain's specialty is alchemy. And that is what he is known from being the Merlin persona and all of these other archetypes, because of this important factor. And he has been remembered in time, because unlike Christ, who like came in big way, made a huge impact, right? Left us tons of states of being and clues. Saint Germain's been kind of popping in and out of timelines, having these really profound physical experiences and non-physical experiences, and leaving imprints all over the planet with using his name. So this is what's super cool about starting to really play in this Ascended Master energy. And if for some reason you've been called towards them lately, or they've been coming into your feed, or you're starting to kind of manifest their teachings, what are you a vibrational match to? Ascended Master energy. So get excited about that. If that is something that's starting to come through your feed a lot, it is because that's a vibrational you're matching to who you are, in essence, remembering yourself to be. So hopefully I covered that intro okay. So let's get into it. Like, what you wanna give me a first question, then I'll bring him in?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Your the last class, and Germaine was talking about how we lie to ourselves. So I would love if you would elaborate more on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And just before I bring him through, one of our biggest issues with quantum leaping into a higher dimension is the rules and the laws of our collective agreement, right? And if we look at that word lie, and we look at the word belief, it means become the lie. So a lie is a story that you are telling that isn't true. But whose truth? Okay. Because if you're working with like Neville Goddard's work, and he says something like, never admit to lack. Well, what if you are in lack? In what dimension are you lying? Right? If you're having a circumstance of lack, but you know that you're not lacking, you know that you are prosperity, you know you are abundant, and yet you're lacking the money to pay this bill, And what truth do you tell? Whose truth do you tell? Do you tell the truth that the circumstantial collective wants you to tell them, to be honest with the rules of 3D? Or do you tell your truth? So this was a kind of a profound, especially when you look at the 10 Commandments, it's like, shall not lie. So we really have to look at this idea of definitions of the word lie and look at it as you're the only being in the universe. That's the best way that you can look at the idea of lie, who you're lying to. Because I believe what has gotten us in this big mess is that we have to be so truthful to our circumstances that we've lied to ourselves. And so we'll bring Saint Germaine in and see what he has to say about this idea. And this will give you guys an introduction to this this new vulnerability that I'm experiencing here. And we'll jump into it. All right. So just give me a minute here.
Just one more thing I would like to
Yep.
add. Like, for example, when I'm with you in coaching sessions and you're asking me stuff, right? And I can see myself trying to protect certain areas, you know, and I've been opening up with you, right? Those areas that I didn't even see that I was choosing not to, right? And that's fine. Like I see it. But when it comes to we're interacting with other people and they're asking us about why did you do certain things, right?
Mhm.
And there's certain realities that you don't want to go into if you open up the truth of what triggered you to take certain decisions. So what would be the best, you know, like how I've chosen not to go into it and just see the light side of it and just explain from the light side, let's say, and
Right.
not what triggered me, you know, just
Right.
not open up that in
Right.
3D.
Well, one thing you want to keep in mind is that everyone is you pushed out. Everyone. So if there is any sort of shred within you that still feels secretive or unjustified or, you know, self guilt or shame deep down within, that would be when you would manifest someone asking, what did you do that? You see, they wouldn't even ask you that question if it was clear within. And see, this is why it triggers you. It only triggers you if you still have something inside of you. If there is nothing inside of you, there would not be a reason for them to channel the shadow. So think of everyone outside of you is a shadow of you. And so if there is just nothing but sunshine in there, no one will ask. And this is kind of like an insight here is this stuff only really happens around your intimate relationships anyways. Strangers don't ask you why you did what you did in the 4th grade. It's when you go back home and everybody's talking about what you did, or they're relating you to your past, which you aren't anymore. See, you've changed it on the conscious surface. And this is why we don't want to go back home, because you've changed the idea on the conscious level. You've made a new choice. You've taken a different kind of character type. But if there are fragments left behind of the old woundings or old scars that haven't been tended to, loved back to light, they're going to be vibrating. And when they vibrate very low level and you get around your family, they're channeling to you your trigger. Now, if you look at it from higher self, it's all love, because if it feels bad when it comes out, you know that that's your work. Oh, I have to transmutate that. Oh, that old story, that's not ever who I was. So here's the idea of lie again. You know, you were told who to be as a child. You were told how to be. You were told what you were allowed to be as a child. So you have to form these lies about yourself. And then for some reason, in order to love your family, you have to honor them. You see that this is where people are really get stuck in their intimate relationships. Intimacy means into me, I see. So they will not trigger you anymore if you have brought light to them. So those things that trigger you, like how does your spouse just know exactly how to trigger you? How does your mom know the exact pressure point to push to just throw you out of your good mood? The reason is that there's certain things bottled up that when we're not around other people, they don't get triggered. So we don't work on them. This is why putting yourself in uncomfortable situations is a biohack to enlightenment at times. Because if you're always in solitude meditating, then you're never going to get triggered. So to me, it's almost like just a measurement. Like, okay, you go into like the lion's den, right? And you can see how far you've come, not by how different you feel about them, but how untriggered you are. That's the magic. But let's say something does come up and you are going to need to answer someone. Okay, let's say someone brings up something from the past that you didn't know was still locked inside of you, and there's an opportunity right there, and they're demanding some information from you, okay? And you are aware that that's a mirror, and you're aware that you're triggered. What you could do is always honor thyself. Okay. Even if your nervous system is getting really activated, you're going to have fight, flight, freeze, fawn, friend to choose from if your nervous system gets deregulated. And you will go into the default setting if you're unconscious. Okay. So if you normally friend the enemy, you will give them the answer they want to hear. If you are fawning in that moment, you will apologize for what you did 20 years ago again. If you freeze, you'll be deer in the headlights and you'll walk away and leave. If you fight, well, we know what that looks like. Okay. And what's the other one? The fight, flight, freeze, fight, obviously. And then, it's just like, or you're going to run away. So most of us are not going to really notice this until we get home, what happened. But let's say for some reason you're totally aware it's a mirror, you're totally aware that you're triggered, and you're like, wow, I didn't realize it was still in there. What we could do is take a pause, all right? There is this like part of this collective like programming that when someone asks you something or texts you someone or puts you on the spot, you have to answer immediately, and that's just not true. We learned this in childhood, right? Answer me. Why did you do that? And children are like, I don't know. They know, but they don't want to give the answer because it's not the answer you want. So what I recommend is going and taking a pause, because if you don't pause, you will be in that deregulated nervous system and you will probably show up how you did 20 years ago, and then you will be upset with yourself and feel like maybe I haven't grown. That's not true, but you just have that default kind of 911 danger programming that gets cued when you get triggered. But if you can take a pause, go in, do some belly breathing, remember who you are. I'll tell you what I do, just FYI, is I write notes to myself in my phone in the notes area when I'm in my higher self. Or that like right after I figure out some like big trigger, I put like keywords down. So I have love letters to myself when I'm in my lower self. And I will like go in the bathroom and be like, let me remember who I am right now. And I can read, this is who I am. This is who I've been conditioned character to be in this matrix. And so even if I can it's almost like having that best friend in that bathroom with you to breathe you back into your nervous system balance. And so then what you can do is you can say, I politely pass to discuss this. Like, it's just something that I've really looked at and I've worked on within myself. And I really feel good about myself in that story now. And if that answer isn't good for someone else, it means that they have to work on their part. So it's about being in compassion. You're not like coming in abrasively, like, I'm taking my power back, I'm not going to say something. It's polite compassion for yourself, but you're also in that state of being, you are proclaiming that chapter is ended. And it no longer needs to be resurrected, because that's what your trigger wants you to do. It wants you to resurrect that pain. It wants it to come back up and come back alive. It wants to eat away at you again. And we think distance is going to change that trigger, moving 2-3 miles, 1,000 miles away, or changing your weight, or changing your person, place, or thing, and you carrying it inside of you. So you are literally locked and loaded. And eventually this new person in your life will begin to channel what is dormant yet vibrating within you, because we are all channeling each other's highs and lows 24 hours a day. So does that answer your question?
Oh yeah, and I saw that my insistence in wanting to keep the story as an explanation for others who are asking is my own program being right, becoming very clear that I want to feed into it. So I kind of
Right.
just saw it.
Well,
Yeah.
and I don't think it's you so much as your ego consciousness.
Mhm.
So anything you give power or energy to, you are investing in and you are creating. So by even retelling the story, okay, it's reinvesting in an old version of you. And so what I've noticed is if you can go get the pause, you don't feel obligated, you don't feel angry, you don't feel triggered, you're not trying to like keep the peace, you're not trying to make them feel better. You are just in this neutral space where you can stand in this state of being and just publicly say, you know, like this has already been analyzed and worked through. And I feel really excited about who I am now. And if that's not okay for them, well, it would be clear as day that they are the one with the issue, because you're in this neutral, loving, compassionate state now that you weren't 5 minutes ago. And again, now it's going to be like, yeah, why don't you let this go, the people around? Because there's something about neutral energy that's another word for confidence. Confidence is the most safe energy to be around. When someone is confident, not arrogant, like, you know, full of themselves, but just confident, like, yeah, everything's amazing. And that is a confidence. And so everyone's like, oh, yeah. And if this person is like, no, I want to talk about it, then everybody's going to be looking at that person like, that's something you got to go work out. Like, it's just, it's almost like a primal instinct to gather towards confident beings, because when you're confident, you know what's going on, right? You feel safe in someone's energy when they feel confident. When someone is all upset, you're kind of like looking for what side you can relate to. And that is what kind of creates this dysfunction in relationships, especially when you kind of go back into family situations, or, you know, ex-husbands, ex relationships that never really resolved the conflict, but had to take time and space. Time and space does not heal. No, it's hibernation, because time doesn't exist, space doesn't exist. So every trigger is just in a hibernation point. And to me, the more physical experiences we have, the more that hibernation is building pressure. Because again, you are operating in space here, and you do have limited space in your hard drive of what you can store before you explode. You know, people are walking around like a time bomb, and it's going to demonstrate through dis-ease. It's going to demonstrate through, you know, road rage. It's going to demonstrate through grief explosions, humiliation. They're going to manifest an event to activate the trigger, and then that event is going to help them release that grief. Even when you go see a movie and you cry, you may not know this, but you are giving your body a gift, because you're releasing what was in there. Did you know that if you saw a movie for the first time that had no relationship of grief to your body, you wouldn't cry? So the tears that you're crying are stored. They're not brand new from this movie. It's relatable, which means that I have stored grief. And when I see this movie, I'm releasing grief, because we're neutral beings. Every moment is neutral. And if I saw grief for the first time and had no storage or memory of it, I would just have compassion, but I would not grieve or cry. So this is what you have to understand, is that most humans are walking around like time bombs of stored, pressurized energy and motion. Emotion doesn't die, it changes form. And the longer you hold on to it, the more disempowered you feel in groups of people, the more disempowered you feel around your family, the more disempowered you feel when something doesn't go your way, because it's like someone has an achy body. They don't want to be touched, poked. And every time someone says something to you in the wrong tone and you explode, it's not what they said. That comes from Course in Miracles. It's never upset for the reasons you think, right? So it is already in there. And I believe that the inner child has a way easier time when they are in that safe place expressing emotion than adults do. Most of the time when I'm in a session with a woman and she's fine, oh, I'm fine, and we start talking, she's crying, first thing she says is, I'm so sorry. Why? Why are you sorry? You're releasing grief. If I'm a safe place for you to let that go, we should be celebrating, not apologizing. Okay. Or like when you get around people, you feel that over need to share. The reason you feel that over need to share is because you believe they can see inside of you and it's going to come out anyways. So you're like, I better tell them before they tell me. And so you can look at all this as just deregulated nervous system response. And we have just become that ice culture where we so badly want to change, but we don't want anyone to heat the ice. We want to just stay frozen and rigid, like, so anyways, hopefully that made sense.
Oh yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right, so let's bring him in for a little bit here. Yeah, we got about 20 minutes. So, and then I'm just gonna start fresh. I'm not gonna try to remember your question because I get into the back seat from this experience, so my hand is not on the wheel. All right, so we'll bring him in.
All right.
Oh, good afternoon. It's so wonderful to see you again. I am Saint Germaine, and we are the Ascended Masters. We are a collective of teachers and coaches and mentors and guides and influencers who have all come together. We are very much a part of the crew of the Galactic Federation who have come at this particular time in space to help you all with the last leg of your journey that you are calling the Ascension. And this is why we are called the Ascended Masters, is we have finished the game. We have beat the game. We have gone all the way through the third dimension, and we have not mastered the world by any means, but mastered ourselves in it. And when you master yourself in it, well, then you can create whatever adventure you would like. And this is the purpose of the fourth dimension, is to create whatever adventure you would prefer. If you do not feel you have choices, this is why you will feel stuck. So we have been very excited to come through this time and space to answer any questions that you have, as we do have a new workshop coming up that is going to be channeled by the channel Jessica, and she is going to be facilitating a very fun 8-week game. We want you to see it as a game. You will not be doing any hard spiritual study or learning any hard modalities or confusing quantum physics, although it is going to be very much in the idea of the quantum realm, as this is where the field of potential is. This is where your Akashic records are. This is where your magic is. And when you let go of your 5 senses and you move into the no sense, the nonsense, you will remember who you are. And when you remember who you are, you will activate, because you are putting yourself back together, and you will remind yourself. You will switch from the lower hive mind, the collective mind of what is politically correct and what is right and wrong and what is justice and injustice and what is the state of the world. And you will move into the idea of the higher mind, where you will see this is just a game. This is just a very strategic, co-creative, energetic quantum game of remembering and forgetting. And you will very quickly remember that you are God, that you are the energy of the Ascended Master. You wouldn't be here in this time and space, in this physical reality, as the shift was occurring so heavily. You would not be here now if you were not already the energy of the Master. And you are working here to embody that in your physical vessel, in your physical mind, in your chemical body, and through your emotions, through your imagination, through your co-creations. You will remember it if you let go and surrender back to the natural state of your spirit embodiment. Your spirit's embodiment is the inner child. It is here to play. It is here to thrive. It is here to excel. It is here to learn about thyself. It is here to co-create. It is here to develop and move move past who it was before. And this is how the learning algorithm of the God mind works, as we all become physically focused and have unique challenges and circumstances, so-called limitations that we pre-plan for ourselves to give us a little bit of a challenge. If an Olympic athlete were to come and play with a kindergartner, it would not be fun unless the Olympic athlete created many challenges for itself in order to have it be fair. And when we look at that fair, the idea of fair or not fair, it is all subjective, as you are literally in your own universe and your own cast of characters and your own props that represent your ideals and your resistances. And as you look at everything in your reality as your own fairy tale, you will begin to see it much differently. And so this is our conclusion for this summer of 2024 workshop that we are presenting, called The Alchemy of Play, through the channel. And it will be 8 weeks of play training that is just about remembering. Many of us have had to forget. We've been forced to forget. We have created realities that make us feel stuck and blocked and trapped and idle and numb and unmotivated and uninspired. And through these ways, we have forgotten who and what we truly are as magical beings of light. And we are here to illuminate the dark with our own heart-centered dreams, our own heart-centered desires, and move forth from those desires into the knowing, into the intention, into the imagination. From the imagination, we move into action. From action, we move into behavior. And once it's behavior, it's automatic. And once this imagination of the wish fulfilled becomes automatic, you are in a flow state for the rest of your life. Can you imagine? Can you imagine having a desire and knowing that you have a fully stocked reality, that you can just walk into a certain space and play out that desire, as you are not here to get anything. You are here to express. You are here to share. Every desire of your heart is nothing that you need from the outside. It is who you are on the inside that desires to be expressed. When you want money, it isn't the money you want. It is the desire to express the joy of your heart, and you believe you need money to do it. We are not saying you will not have money. Once you reach into the inner child facility of the imagination and begin to play with infinite potentials, you will see how manifesting money is no more difficult than going to your refrigerator and making yourself a sandwich. It's all belief systems. So I know we have a limited time here today, as we would love to talk for hours, but we will take a few questions. And again, I will probably be leading off this Q&A as St. Germaine, as I am focused heavily in this workshop on the idea of play alchemy. Alchemy is the idea of turning something in a shadow or dark or dense, or something that may be lacking unpotential, and turning it into potential, turning pain into power, turning lead into gold, turning ignorance into wisdom. And this is where you shine, as you are a creator god, and creator gods have come to create. You did not want to create light from light. You wanted to create darkness into light. This is why you came here into the third dimension. This is why you have all rendezvous together at this point, where many of your belief systems are intersecting, and you are finding teachers and mentors that really are showing up in your highest level of excitement and belief systems, but also reminding you. So let us take that first question, and let us help you see how easy and effortless and playful you are allowed to be in this time and space. So what is your first question, my dear?
Yes. So the first question would be like, how are we lying to ourselves?
How are
And
we lying to ourselves? You mean in the idea of wrong and right, in the idea of your matrix system or your laws, or what do you mean? Give us a
how,
little bit more detail about this.
how you talk about allowing our inner child to play with our higher self, right? So when
Yes.
it's not playing with the higher self, we're basically, I believe, we're lying to ourselves, right? It's looking for the ego to get whatever it
Oh,
needs.
absolutely. Yes. So your ego consciousness is the warden of your memories. Your ego consciousness is the warden of all of your past. It is also projecting you to force you to look at your future that will be based on your past. This is why it is so uncomfortable to move or make decisions or trust yourself. And so we could say that the ego will say, you are lying to yourself if you believe the dreams in your heart are going to come true, because you have no proof. You have no finances there. You have no support system. You have no partner to help you. So you're lying if you say that you are going to create a very big life, or you are going to have a bunch of money. Your ego will tell you that you're lying. And ego is collected to the hive mind, or the collective mind, that has all gone into the agreement that we are separate from God. And so again, whose lie is important here? Are you worried about getting in trouble with the matrix, or are you worried, or you're focused on not evolving? Because when it comes down to it, if you are lying about the dreams in your heart to sugarcoat the matrix to make someone else feel better, because they cannot see what is in your imagination, they cannot see your wish fulfilled, they cannot feel the resonance of who you are as a spirit. This comes back to the people pleaser mentality. If you have been trained to be a people pleaser, if you have been trained to be a caretaker, if you've been trained to be have your compassion, your empathy be abusive to you, then your idea and right and wrong and lies and truth will be all jumbled up. And so this is where we bring in the concept of your scripture, your Bible, and your 10 commandments, is this idea of shall not lie. Well, if I am God and I remember that I am a fractal of God and I am here to create my own adventure, then who could I lie to? And it comes down to, you want to examine this particular belief. Do I believe I am separate from source? Do I believe that I am separate from God? Well, then I have to follow this truth, which is that I am not abundant, that I am not naturally prosperous, that I am not a genius, that I am not special and unique in the eyes of my own gifts. I must tell the truth of what people have known of me my whole life. And I will tell you, this is a way you can do this at home. You can do what we would call a spirit reality check. Is you can tell a familiar lie that was true in your matrix world. Or let's say you did something when you were 15 that was out of alignment, but you did it, and you did experience it, and you acted it out. You can put your hand on your heart or not, depending on how connected you are to your body, and you can say out loud that story. And you will feel the lower vibration happen. Now remember, truth is high vibration. Truth is love. There is only love in the universe. There is only abundance in the universe. There is only prosperity in the universe. Everything else is a lie. Everything else is a lie. And this is where your word belief comes from. Becoming the lie. Belief, become the lie. And so you are forced to become the lie of your environment by the age of 7. You are forced to believe what your family believes. You are forced to believe what your collective believes. You are forced to believe that the sky is blue and 2 + 2 = 4. But as you move into the higher realms and you move back into the infinite potentials on some dimensional platforms, 2 + 2 does not equal 4. So it depends on what perspective and subjectively you are looking through. And so when we are working with some of you who are very focused on doing the right thing and the obligations and commitments to your material world, we are saying this is where you will remain. Because if you are going to tell a lie to yourself that is true in the 3rd dimension, then the lie will separate you from your source again, and you will have to go back and play you must believe in the lie that you are separate. So here, when we say, when you're working with your spirit and you're getting right with yourself, right is the super consciousness, the right side of the cross, the super conscious side, then you are getting right with yourself. You are saying, I was believing a lie about myself to even do something like that when I was 15. Now I'm going to tell my truth. And my truth is that I am infinite potential. My truth is that I can create any reality that I focus on. I will tell the truth that I know that my words are powerful. I know that where I put my energy, where I put my focus, and how I speak to myself is going to be my truth. And so again, as some of you are shifting, this is the power of the inner child, because if we asked a child who felt safe to tell the truth, it would be an exact truth of spirit. It would not be the spirit. It would not be the truth that the parent wants to hear. It would not be what the world wanted to hear. And so if you have surrounded yourself with a lot of people that hate liars and hate that if you do anything wrong or anything that is outside of what is expected of you in your society or your church, then you have created an idea that it is unsafe for me to be my truth. And you will examine that and you will play through that. You will give yourself permission to let that go. And the idea of pretending is to pre-attend. You're going to pre-attend your new story. And so you are going to act it out, but you're going to do it in the safety of your higher self being the audience. You're going to share with yourself. You're not going to go out into the world and say, I create my own reality, when you have no proof of it, especially if you have 20 years of, falling against the ground and being broke and stuck. And so the world is not your audience. Your higher self, your spirit team, us, the ones that you trust and connect with that are in the same wavelength, the same vibration, your kind of your vibe tribe. So those are the ones where you can publicly pretend and act and demonstrate your coming attractions with no judgment. See, judgment is self-preservation. And so sometimes we judge ourselves when we say, this is a lie that I'm going to tell, but it's true for me. And so again, when you build this relationship with the higher self and the inner child, it really is a reparenting process that is something that facilitates and heals much of all of your field in general, because you are healing a lot of the emotional body as well. You have so many emotions stored on false beliefs, so many things that you have done from lower consciousness that if you were connected to your higher self would have never even thought of doing. You do not put yourself into that eye and you say, oh, well, God will not love me, or spirit will not accept me if I have this memory of what I've done, and my ex-boyfriend or my ex-husband likes to remind me of what I've done before. And we say this only one that matters is who you are in the eyes of God. And God says, you are my child and you were under hypnosis, and so I forgave you before you even forgave yourself. And so this is where you really want to build the relationship with your higher self before you really jump into deciding what is a lie and the truth, because it is very different when you're looking at it as you are immortal. So if I said to you, you are immortal, would that be a lie? Well, if someone asked you that in the real world, or the part of the world that is in separation, then that would be a lie. But I would say that is the truth, because the spirit lives eternally, and this is a vessel, and you've had many vessels, and you will have many more vessels as you love playing these games. So does that answer fit your directive or your objective, my dear?
Yes, yes. And so if I'm experiencing lack, that's my lie, and I've got a
It is your
command.
lie, and you are believing it. So if you are experiencing lack, you say, what part of me is believing this lie? Because I am infinite potential connected to source energy. So please let us find that fractal consciousness within us that is believing in this lie. And then when we find that belief, then we can change the belief with the light and the transmutation of love, that we can focus on that. There's no reprimanding. There is no even forgiveness needed. The part of you that's telling the lie is the part of you that needs the love, that needs the light, that needs the abundance. And so it is saying, I am not abundant because it cannot feel the abundance. It is in the vibration of lack. And so we want to turn those beliefs or those parts of ourselves towards the light and towards love, and love those parts of ourselves. And this is where the neutrality of the inner child can come in, because the part of you that that wants you to be prosperous and wants you to be successful and wants you to be powerful is not going to be able to live in a space of not judgment of that. If you knew that everything that was in the way of your manifesting reality was you, then you would be in judgment of that. And so you will require your inner child to go find those places within you. You see, when you're looking analytically, black, white, left, right, you are not going to be able to see this belief system. You are going to need the inner child to go into the shadow and find this fractal, find this shatter, find this part of your ego consciousness or your lower self that is vibrating this lack, as you will not be able to find it, as you are looking for something real. And this isn't going to be something real. It's going to be something that is hidden in a memory. It is going to be hidden somewhere in your body. It is all about the treasure hunt. And the inner child says, well, all I have to do is find the vibration. And I know what that vibration feels like because it makes us feel bad. And when I find that vibration, I know I will be the light, and I will direct it and turn it back into light. And so if you leave your limiting belief systems up to your inner child, you'll have less judgment, more play. You'll find them much faster than if you go looking with your brows turned and your analytical mind searching back into stories and memories and conclusions and calling friends and getting truth about the story of your life. You will not find it there because many of us have these fractal conscious places within you because you were unconscious when you received it. And so it's going to be in a state of unconsciousness. And you are not going to be able to find it with your conscious mind because it was written by the subconscious mind in a sleep state or in a state of vulnerability, an exposed state of sleep, unconscious place. And so only the inner child will be able to find it as it is in a state of vibration. Now, your hypnotherapist may be able to find it, or your past life regression, but ultimately your unity, your trinity here, your Father, Son, Holy Spirit combo that you are working with embodied here is designed to be a whole system. You do not need a middleman. You do not need us to channel this. You do not need this channel to help you. It is just about working with that which you have. And the conclusion of what you have to work with until you move into a state of enlightenment is you have the observer, you have your inner child, and you have your higher self. Now you have your nemesis, you have your ego culture, and you have your collective mind, and you have your families that are channeling your ego for you. But ultimately, if you were going to look at your three-part trinity, and you would say, okay, observer, let us look at what the inner child is sharing in a non-judgmental space, and higher self will hold the light as is acting as the Holy Spirit. And so you can see you have all that you need, but you will not find it from your analytical search. You will not find it from a YouTube video that talks about trauma. It is one of those things where it will seem so irrelevant, but it is a vibration that is vibrating lack, and it is going to be in a hidden space. And if you are looking for analytical proof or black and white or numbers or realness, you will be looking for lifetimes, as we have seen. Many in our first session we did with the channel this summer, we took the people through with a session we call the karmic clearing patterns, and we saw how many lifetimes you have been in this same place. Some of you 3-4 lifetimes where you've reached spiritual level of enlightened understanding, not embodiment, but you have reached a level of enlightened understanding where you understand who you are as God, and you are teaching and you are prophesizing and you are philosophizing, but you are not embodying it because you are looking for these vibrations from this adult mind, from this analytical mind, from this righteous mind, from this spiritual enlightened teacher mind, and it isn't going to be found there as it is found in the shadow crevices of vibration. As you would rub your hand against the floor to find those pieces of glass that you cannot see with your physical eyes, as it is a sensory operation, and your inner child's true magic comes from the ability to touch and to share. And this is where she or he will come in and do the rest of this experience for you, find those limiting belief systems, and be in a state of no judgment when they find them. Because you, as an adult, when you do find these limiting beliefs, you relive it all over again. And you go back into the shame, and you go back into the guilt, and you go back into the humiliation, and you basically fire up that old story, and it makes you want to suffocate it again. But if the inner child finds it, then in the moment that she recognizes it, she is going to shine the light of excitement and joy, which is a very high frequency on it, as she has discovered it. And as soon as he has discovered it, it will transmutate back into joy, back into love, and it will be repurposed. You will repurpose it. You will bring lack, you will change lack back into life. You will resurrect things. You are going to see how truly ingenious your inner child is when you are not in a state of judgment. And so this is part of this workshop that we're offering. And now you can see why it is important, as most of you are so caught up in what is right and wrong. And those of you who are empaths and sensitive beings, you fixate even more on right and wrong. But again, you are in the right and wrong of the world, and you never fit in the world. And so your idea of right and wrong is also not going to compute. Your definitions are going to be innately different. And this is also going to cause you quite conundrums if you are trying to force yourself into the game of right and wrong in the world that has made its rules from right and wrong from separation. So if you are playing the game of right and wrong from inversion or conclusions or unity or love, the rules are very different. And so we say, look at your definitions of right or wrong through infinite unified love of consciousness and God, not of the matrix, or not your collective reality that is based its whole ideal on that you have to get to heaven to know God, or to be a good person and in order to go to heaven. And this is where most of the collective religious world and the spiritual world has been recycling the last 4 to 15 lifetimes, based on getting stuck at their death experience with the, oh, that was wrong, I thought this was right, and oh, let's go again and let's see if we can get this right, as we go back into the forgetfulness game of the third dimension until we awaken. And we will say that many of you are in states of being right now where you can sleep through a bad dream. We've all done it. You've all done it. You slept through a bad dream. You wake up and you tell the bad dream. You say, oh, I had a bad dream. But every one of you wakes up when you have a nightmare. And so if you are waking up, if you are having a second awakening, or the second coming is coming through you at this time, the Christ consciousness, it is because of your nightmare. And so rejoice and say, okay, this nightmare woke me up, and see every negative is a shortcut in this idea. And so we hope this definition was sufficient for you, or this explanation helped many of you, as this is where you want to understand true compassion for who you are as beings. And you were an actor of a different movie then. And in order for you to become the actor of your design movie, of your infinite potential, of your choose your own adventure game, you've got to make up your own rules. And when they are heart aligned, then the truth resonates throughout the world. And the truth is always remembered through history, no matter how much they try to program you and force you to sleep. So does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you very much. That was beautiful, and we're over the hour. So.
Okay, well, good. We got. We believe that was probably one of the most important questions that you could ask, as so many people are experiencing this. And again, you can be very much in the spiritual world, and you can be a very compassionate empath and still be caught on this one. And so, when you are in the fourth dimension, everything that you desire, that was within your heart, that is about unity and love and expansion, is the truth. Anything that limits or cuts you off or hurts someone else is a lie. And so this is how God has created the 10 commandments for you to follow. But again, these ideas, these scriptures, these parables, these psalms can all be distorted based on someone's subjective intention. And so this is why keeping your own counsel and becoming quite self-sovereign is the only way that you will truly be able to quantum leap, because you will have to know know and embody this idea of your truth and to live it and to vibrate it and then to create it. And so with that being said, we are complete.
Thank you.
That was fun.
Yes, that was very, very fun.
Did that answer your question?
Oh yeah, it did. Yes.
Yay.
I will transcribe it because I get it a lot more better when I'm transcribing it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
That's how it works.
sensory. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I'm kind of like in that back seat where the like two people up front are having a conversation and I'm like, the wind's blowing. So I'm like, eh? But I'll watch it back. But no, this is the same one that I got like stuck on. Because it's like when you are ready to shift into this 5D potential, you are going to like look at who you've been and it is going to be so not you. Right? So it's like the idea that they used with me was if I was a loving patriot, had a family, like, die for my country, and I went off to war, all right, who I would have to be on that battlefield is not who I am, but who I would have to be on that battlefield. What if I was hungry? What if someone was attacking us? What if I, what would my role be on a battlefield versus in my home? So the rules are different. And so what Saint Germaine told me is that the third dimension is a battlefield. And you're going to be so out of your true character in your family, in your workplace, that you're going to do things that are out integrity or morality to who you would be if you were not in scarcity and desperation and self-preservation and protecting. It's like we're mothers. There's not a lot we would not do for our kids if we were on that battlefield. But once you realize it's just a game and you wake up to it, there's a little bit of shame and guilt that's like, oh, what was I doing over there? And so you kind of have to go through that clearing. This is what the 24th Psalm is about, is like you go through this kind of clearing of self-forgiveness of who you were when you were on the battlefield and hypnosis programmed. And when you start to wake up, it's so far from who your heart's the same, your level of compassion and desires are going to be the same from your heart, but your behavior is going to be so different. And yet, if you carry that guilt and shame, that other people are going to be reminding you constantly of who you were on the battlefield. And this is why, like, I specialized in military guys for a long time, because when they would come home from battle, they didn't know how to leave the battle at the battle. They would swallow all of that, those things they had to do, experience, or see, swallow it, and then go back home and there's a brand new baby waiting. It's like, how do they show up without blurring the lines? And so I feel like the inner child is what helps us shake off and kind of clear the old character archetype we had to be. Because self-forgiveness, there's going to be things that are very hard for the adult version of me to forgive about me that did over there. You see what I mean? But if you look at it from the eyes of a child, like, well, you were hungry, or you were lost, or you were trained to do this, or you were unconscious, or you're hypnotized. And again, it's not justified that you don't need to have, forgiveness and all of these things. But ultimately, it's self-forgiveness that is required to get to the next level. And this is where your relationship with higher self comes in, because your higher self is like, okay, that was just a dream. Are you ready to wake up and choose your own adventure now? Because you were choosing the adventure they told you had to have. And so that's where the inner child comes in, because children are very neutral and non-judgmental at their core. I mean, if they're not abused or hurt, you see. But when they are just in that state, they're very forgiving, they're very loving, they're very genuine. And again, they have this natural desire to be of service. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of where I have felt that it was very hard for me to forgive certain things about myself or let go of guilt and shame. And when they helped me bring through my inner child, it was like, I see this so much different. I can process this now And again, because there's certain things you can't justify, or your family won't let you justify, and again, it will keep triggering it. The world will keep sucking you in as long as you are carrying it. So I don't know if that helps you, but it really, really helped me going through this transition of like the ego death is more of a disembodiment of the world's conditions of you. And you will not be able to let that go if you're carrying self, shame, and guilt.
Oh yeah, and that truth of the inner child state of being has always been there, but it's like shut down by the programming,
The
and
program
it
shuts
feels
the
so
child down
good.
immediately. Yeah. Because they know that's where the imagination is. They know that's where the fourth dimension is. They don't want you to know about the fourth dimension. They don't want you to build, they want to teach you that you build your own reality, but out of these circumstances. Oh, yeah, you can build whatever you want out of these circumstances if you work really hard for it. And the inner child's like, but wait, I don't like any of these options. I'm going to make up my own. And that's where we can't be controlled. So as soon as we start to play and live in the fourth dimension, this is the beginning of our sovereignty. As now, they can't go in there and touch that. And we can say, okay, well, in the fourth dimension, money comes to me effortless and easy through my affirmation. And that doesn't oblige with the third dimensional work hard for the money that you have. In the fourth dimension, it's choose your own adventure and then vibrate state of being until it materializes in the third dimension. And again, one of the things that we are taught in the collective is to be in a rush and have no patience. So again, that's where one of the things when you're building a new reality, it's like building a home. There's going to be time and space lapses that build character and build vibrational imprints that if you're over in the world in desperation and scarcity, you don't have time to wait for it. You're just going to go out and try to work for it. So there's lots of grown-up traps out there that the inner child will wait all year for Santa Claus to get the one toy, you see, because they understand the game, but the adult says, no, I got to do this now. And see, that's where the rat race is and the trap is. And so kind of like when you break free of that, you're like, wow, I'm not that person at all. Yet you have all the memories of doing those things or having those things happen to you. And your ego is like, does not want you to shake those off. It's like holding you accountable to who you were when you were under hypnosis. So it's like if a magician put you under hypnosis and said, act like a chicken, that's like someone making fun of you for the rest of your life where you have no power over who you were. That's kind of like what the Matrix does to you once you start to wake up into the Christ consciousness and you realize, wow, like I've been living a lie. And this is who I really am, where I have no true needs and wants. There's only desires of expression. But over here, I lack everything I am. And so your operating basis, your operating system, everything is different over there. And again, so it's like this purification part that happens, it has to come from a neutral heart and a neutral space and through the malleability of play. And so this is kind of what they're going to be offering this summer. So if anybody's interested, you're going to put the links to register.
Yes.
You guys, this is like literally the cheapest workshop I've ever done too. So if you did have your 3 sessions with the masters already, there is there's $100 discount for you. Okay. Just so you know. You want to give some details?
The link is in the live chat right now.
Okay.
And I don't know, you wanted to do the giveaway? Yeah,
I did want to give away. So, but I didn't know what that was going to look like. Did you have an idea?
Yeah,
I want to give away a free workshop.
Yeah, about sharing it on Instagram.
Oh, okay.
To share the flyer.
The flyer. Okay. Where on their story, on their post?
Okay. Yeah, on their story. I think it's the most visible part. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we can give a few of them away. So again, if you guys want to share, or if this channeled message resonated, please subscribe, share if it resonated, and so we can get the word out, because I know there's a lot of you guys out there that are at this point where you're so close to just quantum leaping over here, but there's those belief systems that the rational, logical, linear, belief systems that are kind of anchoring you due to either your past or the circumstances that you're in. And circumstances don't matter, especially to the inner child. And think about this, like if we took an adult and we said, okay, you have a life sentence in jail. And then we took an inner child and we said, you have a life sentence in jail. Who do you think would have a better time in there? Because the child would figure out how to play. A child would figure out how to feel free, trapped. Therefore, the child would manifest their way out of it. But if there was an adult in there, self-judgment, fear. So again, the child would be like, okay, here's where I am. Let me figure out how to play here. And the adult would be like looking at all the things wrong and loss and everything they were losing. The inner child would be like, okay, what do I have to play with here? So you see, like one is in a natural state of loss, one's in a natural state of abundance. So if you feel like you are trapped right now or not free right now, it could be disease, it could be financial situation, anywhere you feel trapped. Once you start playing with your inner child in the same circumstances, the vibration will change. And therefore, you will shift worlds. You will shift into a parallel reality that is going to be in more alignment, that is closer to your higher self. And that's going to help the rest of this expression be much easier. It will feel like, it will kind of feel like a treasure hunt, honestly. It will feel like a treasure hunt because that's the way even the Bible was written. It was all written in parables to be plain. Each scripture is a piece of the treasure map if you look at it metaphysically. Okay? So yeah, and I have tons of other videos on these things. As I've been going through these things 2 years, I've literally been sharing like dark nights, like all of these things. And so I just haven't been sharing this publicly this last like 6 months because we started our Superhuman Academy. And that's more of like, you've got to be really like looking for that information because it's not mainstream. So.
Oh yeah, that's one of the things that I love about your work. Once I came in contact with it, I knew this was like a next level, like next chapter for me because I knew everything in my mind.
Right.
I would know it all,
right.
But I knew that somehow something was missing. It was that embodiment part.
Yeah.
That
Right.
that crossing that. So, and you had it like you would explain everything I was going through in the moment I was going through. I was just like seeing at myself in awe. So yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah, and that's the only reason I share because I'm like, if I'm going through this, somebody else got to be going through this. So, and I mean, this is kind of this is where we are as a collective. I wouldn't say collective like the world is going through this, but there are those of us who have been actively working towards this kind of ascension process. And when it is your time, you will notice you don't really feel like you have a choice. Things will kind of be removed from you, fasted from you, and you won't feel like you can kind of repeat those old you won't even be able to go back and be that person that you were because it just doesn't even feel like the same energy. But it doesn't mean there's a ton of tools out there to know how to do it, So because I think that a lot of people that have already done this, that is information that is going to be in your vibration when you are ready. So it's like you're always going to connect with the information that you are ready to hear. And so when I was kind of going through this, there wasn't a lot of information for me because I wasn't really kind of stable in that vibration to receive it yet. So again, if you're hearing this, then maybe, you're experiencing this or you've already gone to the other side. We'd love to hear from you. Put in the comments, like certain ways you've played or things like that. We'd love to build our community a little bit bigger because we really are all in this together. And when you have that play mindset, you go like look at a playground. Guaranteed none of those kids really know each other, but they can be best friends for the day. Imagine if adults all went to a playground. Like, would we just all walk up to each other and be like, hey, or would we like click off or would we be on our phones? It's like, so if we're going towards unity consciousness, you can see that the inner child naturally is already attuned to unity consciousness. Yeah. And so this is going to be the eyes and ears and the voice that is really going to help you, the observer, the adult, the one that's had to kind of grow up in this world, teach you how to sail through this next leg of your own enlightenment embodiment journey. So yeah, awesome. Yeah, I would love to see you guys in the workshop. I will be channeling it, so I won't be teaching a lot of it, but you guys will see my mug, and you'll hear from the 3 different ascended masters over the 8 weeks. Like I said, everything will be archived. It will be put up into the school app. So obviously after it's recorded, it will be uploaded. We will be doing live sessions on Zoom. And if you can't get started with us on the 23rd, that's fine. You can always register and then pick a date like later in the summer if you're traveling or something, and go at your own pace. So you do not have to attend live. It's there for you when you are ready to experience it. And if you are interested in those 3 sessions, they're private, they're recorded, they're about 90 minutes each. And it's going to be the Ascended Masters that are working with you on your Ascension Council. So your guidance, your vibration alignments, that's who's going to show up for you and channel those messages for you. Although Saint Germaine seems to do the second session a lot because it's the alchemy process. But again, it's pretty cool. And I've seen probably my biggest transformations of students that have had those 3 sessions in years of teaching. So it's a pretty cool experience to see. All right, guys. Well, I got to run. So thank you so much for being here with me and asking the questions. Anything else?
I think I had a pretty awesome time. Thank you so much.
Yeah, me too.
Looking forward to doing more of this and having more people come over and ask their questions. And
and we'll get it shared on our other communities as well, so people can chime in. All right.
Bye-bye. Thank you.